Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the South and West Plans panel. My name is Councillor Hannah Bithell, and I'll be chairing today's meeting. Could I remind everyone that today's meeting is being live streamed on the Leeds City Council YouTube channel so that the public can observe the meeting without needing to be present. South and West Plans panel deals with applications from the south, northwest, and west of the city. The aim of the panel is to hear all the relevant information from applicants, members of the public, and council officers to help members of the panel make their decision. Could I now invite members and officers to introduce themselves and mute your microphone once you have or introduced yourself? And if we could start from my left, please.
Good afternoon, members. Nigel Wren, Planning Officer.
Good afternoon, Ahmed Hunaidi, Senior Highways Officer.
Good afternoon, Councillor Bromley, representing Horsforth and Rawdon.
Afternoon, everyone. Councillor Andy Rowntree from Kirkstall Ward.
Afternoon, Councillor John Garvani, Horsforth Ward.
Afternoon, everybody. Councillor Raymond Jones from Horsforth Ward.
Good afternoon, Councillor Nkele Maneka from Richmond, Bermondsey and Richmond Hill, sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Councillor Paul Ray from Hunsel and Riverside Ward.
Good afternoon, Lewis Foote. I'm part of the Plans Panel admin team.
Merry Christmas. I'm Robert Finnegan. I'm a councillor that covers the Morley area.
Good afternoon and Merry Christmas to everybody. My name is Trish Smith and I represent Pudgey Ward.
Good afternoon, Councillor Barry Anderson, Adland Wharfdale Ward.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm Councillor Colin Campbell.
Hey, everybody. I'm Natasha Prosser. I'm the clerk to the panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nikki Diol, Legal Advisor to the panel today.
Good afternoon, Jonathan Carr, Head of Development Management.
Good afternoon, Steve Butler, Group Manager for South and West and Lead Officer at South and West Plans Panel.
Thank you, everyone. Moving to the agenda, can I ask the clerk to go through agenda items number 1 to 5, please?
Thanks, Chair. Agenda item 1, there's no appeals. Agenda item 2, as everybody will have seen, there is an exempt appendix to the agenda pack today. Should the panel be agreeable, the appendix regarding this application in terms of Guiseley School will have been designated as exempt under Access to Information Procedurals 10.41. Can I just ask members now to take a vote on whether they are agreeable to move into private session when we discuss this piece of information?
All those in favour? Yeah, unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Agenda item 3, there's no formal late items. Agenda item 4, members to declare any interest? None. Thank you. Agenda item 5, apologies from Councillors Buckley and Councillor Taylor today, and then we have Councillor Jones and Councillor Anderson here as substitutes. And then over to you, Chair.
Thank you. So we move on to item number 6, which is the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 23rd of November 2023. I will assume these are correct unless otherwise indicated. So do members accept these minutes are a true and correct record? Lovely. And are there any matters arising? Okay, which will bring us on to agenda item number 7, the new artificial grass pitch with floodlighting, storage container, new emergency access, relocation of existing long jumps, associated landscaping works at Guiseley School. Can I ask Nigel to present it, please?
Thank you, Chair. As you've mentioned, this scheme relates to a proposed new artificial grass pitch with floodlighting, new emergency access, a storage container, the relocation of existing long jumps and associated landscaping works. And it also follows presentations to Plans Panel on the 3rd of August and the 23rd of November this year, where the application was deferred for the reasons as set out in the covering report. Members will be aware from the covering report that the applicant has undertaken a public consultation exercise, and this was held at Guiseley School on the 26th of October. A summary of the event and the additional changes that have been made to the application are also described in the updated report. The covering report also provides an update on the Sport England representation received on the eve of the Plans Panel meeting held on the 23rd of November. And following the receipt of additional information provided by the applicant to Sport England and their subsequent review of this material, Sport England have indicated that their request for a condition to be imposed relating to a replacement athletics track is no longer necessary. As members will also be aware, An objector has stated that the proposal would disproportionately affect them and or their family as they suffer from a condition that means that the development as proposed would have serious health implications. Under the Equality Act 2010, such an illness is defined as a disability and comes under the definition of protected characteristics. The local planning authority has therefore conducted an equality impact assessment in order to have proper and due regard to this characteristic. This assessment, Appendix C of your report, is presented as a confidential item and is therefore designated as exempt from publication under Access to Information Procedures Rule 10.41 and Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. This confidential assessment is presented to Plans Panel as decision makers and will be discussed in a closed session of this meeting. Just in terms of further updates, members have been sent a representation from an objector earlier today referring to the 3G pitch and hazardous materials, and reference is made to an updated position statement from Sport England and other UK sports bodies following the EU ban on rubber crumb, and that's dated December 23. Further comments are also made in relation to the lack of recycling facilities for the processing of rubber crumb material. These matters, however, relating to the use of rubber crumb and the regulated legislation that applies to them are covered under the original planning report, which was presented on the 3rd of August. And this planning update has no relevance in terms of altering how you consider the application today. So turning to the slides, if I may. So the blue line shows the extent of the school's ownership, with its built environment concentrated to the southeast of that blue line. To the northwest are its associated playing pitches, and to the southeast of those playing pitches is the application site itself, where the proposed 3G pitch would be broadly located in this area just here. Access to the site is off Bradford Road to the west, where this access is an existing access, but it would be widened. The application site superimposed onto an aerial plan is as follows. As I've just mentioned, to the west is Bradford Road, where there's an existing access with a Tranmere conservation area beyond. To the north is open land. To the east of the site is Alderside Road and Alderside Way. To the south lies Fieldhead Drive, and to the southeast are the main school buildings. Connecting Fieldhead Drive to Alderside Road is a public footpath, which separates the school's built environment from its playing pitches. Oops, sorry about that. So just in terms of the layout, as I mentioned, the existing access is to be widened at this point here. And then this new access road would wrap around the pitch to the north and then through a gap within this tree line here, a natural gap, no trees are to be removed as a consequence, leading to the proposed 3G pitch. The pitch itself would contain 6 floodlights. They would measure 15 meters in height. To the west of the 3G pitch is a storage container. To the north are the relocated long jumps. To the southeast and to the southwest, proposed landscape bunds are to be positioned in this area. That would be from excavated material from the development itself, and that would act as a visual screen. And the landscaping would also help contribute to the meeting the biodiversity net targets. In terms of elevational treatment, the pitch is to be enclosed by a 4.5 metre well mesh fence, and that would be a typical solution which you would find across many school sites. As I mentioned, there are 6 50-metre high floodlight columns. Along the eastern elevation and on the southern elevation, acoustic fencing is proposed. On the eastern elevation, it's 3.5 metres high, And on the southern elevation, it would be 2.5 meters high. And that's just a typical example of the well mesh fencing, which I'm sure members are familiar with. Just in terms of some site photographs, this is taken from the footpath to the south of the site, and this picks up the properties on the Alderside estate. Some of them are orientated with their gables facing the application site. Others have rear elevations facing the proposed pitch. In terms of landscaping, I think we can see from this that in certain areas the landscaping is quite dense, and in other areas it's less so. The applicant has agreed to undertake further planting in these areas to bolster that provision. This is a view from the north facing south. This time the Alderside estate would be on the left as we look at it. And as you can see from that image, again, the landscaping is fairly robust in that area, but as I say, in others, less so. And this is a view from the west facing east. And as I mentioned, some of the properties along Alderside Road have rear elevations. This picks up that particular aspect. And again, as you can see, the landscaping is not extensive in this area, but the applicant has agreed to undertake further planting to help bolster that provision. And this is a view facing west, this time picking up a linear section of poplar trees. Those trees are to be retained. I mentioned that the access road would lead, which leads to the pitch, would broadly enter at this point here. That access road would both serve as a construction access and also as an emergency access for the pitch, if it's approved. These trees, incidentally, are categorised in the tree survey as category U trees, so they are of limited life. The life expectancy is around 10 years. The applicant, as part of the planning submission, has submitted a poplar management strategy. It's important that the trees are retained and protected as far as they reasonably can be. They do house potential bat roosts as well. That needs to be carefully surveyed and monitored. And also, if trees do need to be removed, then again, there is a strategy to replace those trees as those works take place, and to fill in potentially existing gaps where possible with further planting to maintain the continuity of a visual screen along that western section of the site. This is a view of Fieldhead Drive. The boundary of the school is to the right as we look at it, with its mature hedge line, hawthorn edging in this instance. And this is a view again from Fieldhead Drive, connecting to the footpath which would lead to Alderside Road. Again, existing mature hedging in this location just here. And then a view, this time facing west from the public footpath to the south of the site. This picks up the existing pedestrian link from the school, then crossing over the public footpath into its secure playing pitch provision. A view from Alderside Road, this time facing west, and this would be the entrance to the footpath which would lead to Fieldhead Drive. And then some images from the Alderside estate itself. This is from public open space. The boundary here would be the eastern boundary of the site. As you can see from that image, and I accept it's taken at the height of summer, but there is ample kind of landscaping and vegetation, which provides an adequate screen. And a view from within the Alderside estate, from within one of the courtyards. Again, quite strong defensible boundaries there, against a backdrop of landscaping. And another view from within, I think that's the southernmost courtyard, off all the side road, again with limited views of the site in the background. This is the existing entrance off Bradford Road, which is used for grounds maintenance purposes. And as I mentioned at the outset, this is to be widened slightly to accommodate construction vehicles. I've already alluded to the acoustic fencing, but this is just to reiterate that point. 3.5 metre screening along this eastern elevation just here, and 2.5 metre tall acoustic fencing along this southern elevation. I've also referenced the landscaping bunds to the southeast and to the southwest using excavated material. And just in terms of the treatment for the acoustic solution, there are several options. The one on the left is a matted kind of solution, and the one on the right is a more kind of traditional timber fencing solution. Just in terms of lighting and lighting spill, this drawing helps articulate the fact that all of the lighting will be contained within the site. No lighting spill will project into surrounding properties. On this outer contour, just here, that's approximately, the measurement is 5 lux, and a typical street light is in the region of 10 lux, just for comparison purposes. And then in terms of separation distances, the eastern boundary is on a dog leg. At its nearest point, it's scaling off at 17 meters at this point just here, and slightly wider at this point here, up to 25 meters. And then the final slide relates to site drainage. It is a theme which objectors have raised. I have seen evidence of localized flooding on that pitch, but probably due to the fact that there's no drainage infrastructure there at the moment. This solution involves a 275 millimeters of stone that will be layered to create at least a minimum of 30% voids to accommodate a 1 in 100 year storm plus a climate change event. And that would sit within a geotextile membrane, effectively acting as a very large soakaway. And that would then drain down to a public sewer at a rate of 3.5 litres a second. So at a greenfield runoff rate. So it would be managed and controlled. So that concludes slides that I have today. So I think what I'd like to say as well is that clearly this is both a sensitive and contentious application, which was first lodged over 18 months ago. And during this time, and sensitive to the issues that have been raised in supporting reports, significant amendments to the scheme have been made. And these include a reduction in the hours of proposed use. Originally it was 10 o'clock, and that's now been reduced down to 8:50 p.m. The cessation of the use of whistles after 6 p.m. Funding for TROs in the event of users parking on surrounding streets. The introduction of acoustic fencing. A reduction in the number of floodlights from 8 to 6 columns. Changes in the brightness of the floodlights to make the lighting softer. The need for artificial lighting to be restricted during the bat foraging season. An agreement that a noise mitigation plan will be required to ensure adequate safeguards are in place to protect local residents, and that this is to be monitored and reported as appropriate. And the applicant has also provided a framework car park management plan to ensure that appropriate users are allocated parking provision as required. So with these changes and safeguards in place, it is considered that considerable weight should also be applied to the benefits of the scheme in offering improved sporting provision to both the school, local community and the broader community. And consequently, the application is recommended for approval, subject to a Section 106 agreement relating to the provision of a TRO and travel plan monitoring fee, as well as the conditions documented in your planning report. Thank you.
Thanks very much. At this point in the meeting, we'll now move into closed session. May I ask members to remain seated and everyone else to leave the room? An officer will come and get you when we're ready to move back into the public part of the meeting. And can we now switch off the live stream, please?